Thank you for coming. Let me introduce the participants of this press conference. On my far right is Calvin Yang, Y-A-N-G. Calvin is a participating member of Students for Fair Admissions. He was rejected from Harvard a few years ago. To my right is Thomas McCarthy, typical spelling, Thomas, M-C-C-A-R-T-H-Y. Tom is the founding partner of the law firm Consovoy McCarthy and our chief trial counsel in Students for Fair Admissions versus the University of North Carolina. To my left is Adam Mortara, M-O-R-T-A-R-A. Adam is with Mortara Law, formerly with Bartlett Beck. Adam is our chief trial counsel in Students for Fair Admissions versus Harvard. My name is Edward Bloom, B-L-U-M. I am the founder and president of Students for Fair Admissions. The opinion issued today by the United States Supreme Court marks the beginning of the restoration of the colorblind legal covenant that binds together our multiracial, multi-ethnic nation. The polarizing, stigmatizing, and unfair jurisprudence that allowed colleges and universities to use a student's race and ethnicity as a factor to either admit them or reject them has been overruled. These discriminatory admissions practices undermined the integrity of our civil rights laws. Ending racial preferences in college admissions is an outcome that the vast majority of all Americans of all races will celebrate. A university doesn't have real diversity when it simply assembles students who look different but come from similar backgrounds and talk and act and think alike. Moreover, these opinions reestablish the founding principles of the 1964 Civil Rights Act, which clearly forbids treating Americans differently by race. Let me quote, at the signing ceremony of the act on July the 2nd, 1964, President Lyndon Johnson made these remarks, quoting now, "The purpose of the law is simple. It does not restrict the freedom of any American as long as he respects the rights of others. It does not give special treatment to any citizen." I'm going to read that again. It does not give special treatment to any citizen. It does say the only limit to a man's hope for happiness and for the future of his children shall be his own ability. Beginning today, America's colleges and universities have a legal and moral obligation to strictly abide by the Supreme Court's opinion. These obligations compel the removal of all racial and ethnic classification boxes from undergraduate and postgraduate application forms. Furthermore, the administrators of higher education must note, the law will not tolerate direct proxies for racial classifications. For those in leadership positions at public and private universities, you have an obligation to follow the letter and the spirit of the law. For decades, our nation's most elite universities have given preferences to the children of alumni, faculty and staff, athletes, and most notably, substantial donors. These preferences have been vigorously defended by these exclusive schools, even though court records reveal that they have diminished individualized student diversity at nearly every competitive university in the country. The elimination of these preferences is long overdue, and SFFA hopes these opinions will compel higher education institutions to end these practices. Looking ahead at the upcoming admissions cycle, SFFA and its counsel have been closely monitoring the changes in admissions procedures should the court reach a decision like the one today. We remain vigilant and intend to initiate litigation should universities defiantly flout this clear ruling and the dictates of Title VI and the Equal Protection Clause. And finally, this organization is deeply grateful to the lawyers who have pursued this litigation with such skill and commitment. And finally, we are grateful to the dozens of young, courageous men and women who joined SFFA as high school seniors after they were rejected from Harvard and the University of North Carolina. Their dedication to the principles of equality is inspirational. Thank you. Calvin?
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Calvin Yang, and I am a member of Students for Fair Admissions. For so long, Asian Americans have strived for acceptance and recognition, for contributions to building a foundation of this country to be acknowledged, and for us to take up our rightful place within the society. Today's decision has started a new chapter in the saga of the history of Asian Americans in this country. It marks the promise of a new beginning, a resurgence of the principles of the American dream, and a return to the egalitarian principles for all in this shining city on a hill. Many people have asked me why I chose to speak out publicly for affirmative action, especially amidst the potential backlash. My answer is simple. If no one is standing up to speak out against the injustices faced by our community, then our well-deserved rights will never be realized. Today's victory transcends far beyond those of us sitting in this room today. It belongs to thousands of sleepless high schoolers applying to colleges. It belongs to the overachieving son of a recently unemployed West Virginia coal miner. It belongs to those with the last names of Smith or Lee, Chen or Gonzalez. It belongs to all of us who deserved a chance, but can now rejoice over the fact that at least our kids can be judged based on their achievements and merits alone. Most importantly, it belongs to all of us who believe that if we work hard enough, we all can have a chance at getting our own slice of this grand American dream. I firmly believe that diversity is very important for education. The future leaders of America need to have representation across all backgrounds of the society. This is why, as I mentioned in my previous speech, affirmative action is a well-intentioned idea that is poorly executed in reality. Thus, it is my hope to see a renewed college admission system that recognizes and rewards the multifaceted talents and diverse perspective that each individual can bring to the table. Together, let us embark on this transformative journey towards a fair, more inclusive educational landscape where the potential of our nation's youth knows no bounds. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Just a few quick words. On behalf of Consular McCarthy, we are very happy for Students for Fair Admissions today and for the thousands of students and families who make up its membership across the country. We're very pleased that the court vindicated the promise of equal protection for all Americans. And it's a little bit bittersweet today because my partner, friend, and brother, Will Consovoy, is not here today. But I know that he is very proud of our team, and it's very much his brilliance and hard work that is in large part a reason for the result today.
And I have precious little to add to the words that were just spoken elegantly by Edward, Calvin, and Tom, other than I also thank Tom McCarthy and Will for what they have managed to achieve here. This firm opened its doors, and the very first representation it took was of Students for Fair Admissions, and one of the first cases it was involved with, and certainly the first case it filed, was Students for Fair Admissions against Harvard. And it's been 9 years, and this firm has accomplished a great deal. I'd also like to thank my former partners at Bartlett Beck, one of the nation's premier trial law firms. Not many big firms, premier firms like that, would take on a cause like this and devote millions of dollars of attorney time and 6 lawyers to trying this important case, and they were brave enough to stand against what might have been woke corporations and others telling them not to do it. And they took a stand and they did it. Finally, I'm just happy for my 4 Chinese nieces and nephews and my Filipino godson.
We'll take a few questions. If anyone has a question or two. You know, we have not dug deeply into this opinion yet, so I'm gonna defer answering a question like that until we've had a chance to really go through the opinion. Sometimes the representation of what is written can be read a number of different ways, so I'm gonna decline answering that question for now.
I know that your organization stands for fair admission, and this kind of goes beyond the scope of that, and also taking into account that I think we all need a moment to actually read the opinion. But could the same logic that's being applied here in this case also be applied to things like scholarships and other internal benefits that aren't necessarily on their face specifically for admissions?
Do you guys want to? Adam, why don't you take that?
Yes.
I could have done that, but
Well, you asked for your lawyer.
well, I'm glad you and Tom are here. Any other questions? Yukong.
I just want to say, on behalf of Asian American community, over 360 organizations nationwide want to express our sincerest thanks to Mr. Edward Bloom, top lawyer, also courageous students. We already had expressed our thanks.
Thank you, Yukong. Good, thanks. Could you put those over there for a second? Thank you. Yeah. Sir.
The decision today explicitly carved out saying it does not apply to the country's military academies. Is that the next phase of this? Will you attempt to apply a similar logic to specifically military academies?
Go ahead.
We're still digesting the opinion, and the future plans of Students for Fair Admissions and Mr. Bloom are not for discussion today.
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I'm Bianca Politico. You mentioned legacy admissions in your statement earlier as a barrier, something that universities should get rid of. Is that something that you are thinking of going over or putting litigation towards? It seems like you might have a lot of allies on that.
Well, speaking as a non-lawyer, legacy preferences are not actionable in court. If they were, I would have expected our friends at the NAACP or MALDEF or ACLU to have brought these lawsuits challenging that years and years ago.
What about standardized tests? Is that something that you are considering at all? Is another barrier or something to get rid of?
We are not going to be litigating the elimination of standardized tests. Yes, ma'am.
I'm Tom Hess with the Chronicle of Higher Education. I'm curious about the provision of the ruling that allows colleges to still use the students' life experiences and about race in their essay.
Well, I think I answered that in my statement, in which I said we will be monitoring direct proxies for race, and if any aspect of the college admission process really sort of devolves into a direct proxy for race, then that is something that we would be very mindful and against. Anybody else? Yes, ma'am.
Expand other ways to take this into consideration. So would you be concerned that even if today's ruling, is out there already, but what if colleges find other ways to still insert this as a factor?
Well, I think my previous answer to the Chronicle of Higher Education is applicable to what you just asked. That is, direct proxies for race are something that we will monitor, and if we feel that a college or university is using something that basically mirrors racial classifications, then that's something that we would object to. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate you coming.